Welcome back. In this video we will be creating a title screen for our game. So for our title screen we pretty much want a scene with our little bunny running along with the mountain scrolling behind him, a kind of a big start button in the center of the screen, and then a title or logo going across to the top there. And because we've kind of got most of that already set up in terms of the bunny moving and the mountains animating and everything for in our current game scene, we can pretty much reuse this game scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to go File, Save Scene As, and we're going to save it into our Scenes folder, and we're going to call it Title. Alright, and we can open that up. So now we're in the title scene, which is now identical to the game scene. Because we don't want the game to actually function, the first thing we can do is we can delete ourselves the cactus spawn point, because we don't want any cacti spawning on the title screen, so we can just delete that. And we also don't want the player to be able to control the bunny. So if we select the bunny, we can remove our bunny controller script from the bunny. Cool. And on our canvas we have our score fields and our score labels. Since we don't want those to show up on the title page as well, we can delete those two. We'll kill those two there. And if we save that up, save scene, if we run that now, we should just have a little bunny running, no cacti, no score, no response to our spacebar being pressed, and just this endless loop with the music playing over and over again. So a good basis to build our title screen on. Alright, so let's add our start button in the middle of the screen here. So what we can do since we already have a canvas for controlling the UI objects, we can just go over to the game object menu, select UI, and select button, and that will add a giant button there. So first things first, the scale is quite different for the canvas, so the easiest way to see what we're doing is if we select the canvas, hover over our scene, and then press the F key to focus. That will focus the entire canvas, and we can see that the button I've just added is sitting in the lower left corner. So let's do a couple of things. Firstly, let's rename the button to something more useful. So we're going to call it button start. Next up, let's open up the button, and you'll see it has an embedded text object which basically controls the text on the button. So if we select that, we can call that start instead. So you can see the word start over there. I'll just zoom in a little on that so you can see what's going on. Start. And let's make the font a lot bigger, so make it 60 big. Alright, and because the font's so big now, it's been clipped so you don't actually see it in the button. So if we click back onto the button start, we can resize the button. Let's make that say 250, and we'll make the height 90. And we don't want the button to be stuck down in the bottom corner there, so what we can do is we can click on this control here, which brings up some anchor presets. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure that the anchor for the button is set to the center by typing that. And then by holding down the Alt key, we can also set the position. So we can set that to the center. And so that will, this one here sets the pivot point. So for instance, if I click that, you can see that the pivot point for the button, or the anchor point for the button, is now this top corner. If I do that, then it's in the center of the button. And then I can then, using the Alt key, it actually sets the location of the button relative to that pivot point. So we want both in the center. All right, so if we run that, we have our start screen with our button in there. We can see we've got mouse rollover, and we can click on the button, but it doesn't do anything. So let's wire up the button to do something when we click it. And what we're going to do to do that is, first we're going to go to the, we're just going to save our scene quickly again. We're going to select the canvas object, and we're going to add a new script to the canvas object. I'm going to call this menu controller, and then we're going to open that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a brand new method to our menu controller. I'm going to make it a public method so that we can call it. And we're going to call this method start game. And in this method we're going to do application dot load level, and we are going to load the game scene. All right. We need to set that as having a void return type. We can save that there. So basically this method, when we call it, will use the load level method on the application object to load our game scene. So that is pretty good. If we toggle back to Unity now, what we can do is we can select the button, and you'll see down at the bottom here it's got a list of things that happen when you click. And it's currently empty. So what we're going to do is we're going to press the little plus sign, and we then get to choose an object that methods or functions will be called on. So we're going to grab our canvas object and drag that into there. And now from this little drop down here, we'll get an option of all the various components on that game object and the various methods you could call potentially when the button is clicked. And what we're going to do is we're going to find our menu controller class or object that we just created, and we're going to select the start game method. Excellent. So we run this now. We should start our level, except when we run it nothing happens. But if you look carefully down at the bottom here in the console, oops, go back there, we have an error being reported that it couldn't find the game scene because it's not part of the build. This is pretty straightforward to fix. We'll just stop that for a moment. Pretty much we go to File, Build Settings, and we'll cover the screen later on when we talk about actual building for various platforms. But this is the screen where you basically choose the current platform you're building for, as well as some settings for that platform, and you can trigger a build and stuff, but we're not too worried about that. What we're worried about at the moment is the scenes in build. So this is the list of scenes that will be included in the build. So when you're working in Unity and you're working in the Unity development environment, by default the current open scene is the thing that runs when you run the game, but it's only that scene. So if you're going to want multiple scenes in your game, or in our case here we want to have it load one of the other scenes, we actually have to tell Unity about the scenes that we want to include in our game. And it's easy to do. We just find our scenes, we select the scenes we want, and we can drag and drop them into here, and you'll see it'll assign each one a number. Now, one important thing to be aware of is that the order of the scenes in here is important. The first scene in here is the scene that is run when the game starts up. So what we want to do is we're going to click and drag the title screen to the top so that it is the first scene when we run our game. Alright, so we can close that down for the moment, and we can save our project. And now if we run the game, we have our start button, and when we press start, it'll load our game scene, and off we go. Alright, So that's the basic button on the screen, but let us add a way to navigate back to the title screen from the game screen. So currently, if we're on the title screen, we start the game, we're in here, but there's no way to get back to the menu screen or the title screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Bunny controller, and in its update method, right at the top here, we're going to add the following code. We're going to say if the input dot get key down is equal to keycode dot escape. Then what we want to do is we want to load the title screen. So we're going to go application dot load level title. Alright, so pretty much whilst the game is playing, or whilst we're on the game scene, if we press the escape key, we will load the title screen and effectively navigate back to the title screen. So we can see that in action over here. If we run our code now, to the game, jump, and if we press escape, we go back to the title screen. And we can go back again and press escape. Cool. Now, one other thing we want to do for when we have our game running is also be able to exit the game from the title screen. So what we can do is in our menu controller, in the update method, we can add another check for the escape key being pressed. Yep. And we want to say keycode dot escape. And if that gets pressed, what we want to do this time is we want to do application dot quit, which basically quits our game for us. So if we're on the title screen and press escape, it will exit our game. We go back to Unity and run that. We can go to the game, press escape to get to the title, and if you press escape again, nothing's going to happen. And the reason for that is that we're running inside the Unity environment, so the application.quit function doesn't work. But since we want to test that, what we need to do is actually build our software and run it as a standalone game. So if we go back to the file menu and we select build settings, we have an option down here which says build and run. So firstly, we're currently building for a PC, Mac or Linux standalone, so like a desktop version of the game. Currently my target platform is Windows because I'm on a Windows box. And if I go and click the build and run button, the first thing it's going to do is prompt me for a name for my executable, for my game, as well as a folder to put it in. So I'm going to go to my temp folder. I'm going to create a new folder called run bunny run. And then I'm going to call my exe run bunny run. And we can save that. And what Unity is now doing now is it's actually building our game for us, and once it's built, it will run the game. So this is the default Unity configuration screen that it runs for all its games. I'm going to set it to be, check my resolution to be 1920 by 1080. Fantastic quality graphics and display monitor 1. It also allows you to change your keyboard mappings around as well. And we'll come back in later videos when we do things like design graphics to fit into this box and that kind of stuff. But for the moment, we can just press play, and it will start up our game for us. And we will see, here's our game here. We can start. So we'll run in HD, nice and speedily. If we press escape, we're back at the start menu. And if we press escape again, we exit the game. If we go look in that temp folder in the build directory, you'll see that it's built the executable as well as a subdirectory with all the basically the resources and all the compiled code in. And this is actually your game. So if you zipped this folder up and sent it to somebody or shared it with somebody, they could unpack it and run your game. So yeah, that's the first time we've actually built our software outside of the Unity environment. But as I say, we'll come back to that in a later video. So that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we will update our user interface. We'll add a custom font and some better graphics and colors, and add the actual title and logo for our page. As always, please like this video if you liked it, share it with others, and remember to subscribe to my channel to receive notifications when I post new videos. Thank you very much.